So, who is the best cruiserweight in Britain? Is it Chris Billam-Smith or is it Richard Riakporhe? Who will go on to potentially have a unification fight with Riakporhe, the hard-hitting Australian who has beaten Maris Bradis twice, or potentially Alexander Usyk, two-time undisputed world champion, a cruiserweight and heavyweight, who has said he is thinking about coming back down to cruiserweight after his second fight with Tyson Fury. Before we look at their fighting styles, let's look at their characters. Let's see who they are as people, where did they start, and how far have they come. So, Richard Riakporhe grew up on a council estate in London. He said he was stabbed at the age of 15. He was mugged outside of a club, refused to give them his phone, and he got stabbed in his chest. He said he was falling into bad behaviours, hanging out with the wrong people. And ultimately boxing changed his life because he didn't have the time to go and hang out on the road or with the wrong people. Because he had to train. He had to train for fights. He had to train to become a world champion. And when he wasn't fighting, he was resting. I'm sure he was too tired to go out and engage in gang behaviour. And look, this is what boxing is all about. This is why we love boxing. It gives people the chance for redemption. People who maybe aren't academically smart, who can't become lawyers or doctors, but there is a different path for them. They don't have to resign themselves to a life they hate. They can become a world champion in the boxing ring. In a world where there can be a lack of role models, who grow up poor, surrounded by drug dealers, fighting can be the only way out for some people. And look, Riakporhe has done it. He's found his way out, and he is now fighting world champion against Chris Billam-Smith. Chris Billam-Smith, what is his story? Well, he went from living on his friend's front yard in a caravan to becoming world champion. He trains under Shane McGuigan, one of the best young boxing coaches in Britain, and he finally became a world champion. He spent a lot of his career as an underdog to Lawrence Okoli, who was the main guy in the gym, the one who had higher expectations than Chris originally. So Chris would have spent a lot of time in the gym looking at Okoli and gone, that should be me. And finally, he got that chance. He defeated Okoli after he split with Shane McGuigan, defeated him on a split decision, but won fairly comfortably. Okoli got points deducted for holding. Billam-Smith knocked him down and won his world championship. So, what are the key moments in Billam-Smith's career? Well, for me, when I was watching his documentary on the BBC called Stable, which explored Shane McGuigan's gym, and is a really good watch for any boxing fans, I think the moment Chris Billam-Smith really came into form was his second fight against McCarthy. His first fight was a close split decision. He then beat Bregon, who Riakporhe actually just beat. Riakporhe got him out of there, but Billam-Smith beat him on points, and then he fought McCarthy in a rematch. And I think this was a turning point for Billam-Smith. He KO'd him. He got him out of there, and this was the start of his really good form. He beat McCarthy twice. He beat some bloke whose name I can't pronounce. Apologies. Armand, I think his first name is. Then was his fight with Okoli, where he won his world championship. What are Billam-Smith's strengths? Well, he's got a really good chin. He took some really strong shots against Riakporhe in their first fight, and he hasn't been dropped. Well, he got countered in the first fight, but in my opinion, it was a little bit debatable. It wasn't clear. It looked like he got shoved down onto the ropes, but he'd taken some punches before that. So I'm not sure whether or not he got kind of pushed down onto the ropes and then the count came, or maybe he did kind of fall onto the ropes from the punches. So it was a bit of a ambiguous knockdown, but he didn't get dropped, from one of Riakporhe's shots. So he's got a good chin, and he's very strong, and he's very powerful. He hits hard. He broke Masternak's ribs in his last fight, and he had to retire on the stool. The first guy to drop Okoli. He's big, he's strong, and he can box well. He did get outboxed by Masternak before he got him out of there, but look, you don't become a world champion without knowing how to box. So what are Billam-Smith's weaknesses? Well, obviously he took a lot of damage against Masternak. He was getting outboxed for a fair bit of it, which won't be ideal. He's had more miles on the clock than Riakporhe. He's been in tougher fights, which is hard to know if that's a good thing or not, because obviously you've got more experience, but it might take a toll on the body. So it's hard to say whether or not it's a positive. So let's move on to Riakporhe. What are Riakporhe's strengths? Well, he hits very hard. He's got a really good highlight reel. He can get people out by, hitting them on the head. He can get people out with body shots. He's got that one-shot power, but he can also put combinations together to finish people. And he's in very good form. I think his last 4 or 5 fights, he's got the opponents out of there. So he's got good hands. He's in good form. Billam-Smith is in good form as well, but looking like a very scary fighter. And his trainer, Angel Fernandez, came out and said that he hits harder than Anthony Joshua. I mean, obviously you have to take it with a pinch of salt because it is his trainer, so he is slightly biased. Obviously, he's going to want everyone to think Riakporhe hits as hard as possible to get in Billam-Smith's head, but, you know, it does look like he hits hard from his highlight reel. As I said, he's got that one-punch power, but he can put combinations together as well. I guess his weaknesses would be he hasn't been in any kind of huge, properly testing fights. His first fight with Billam-Smith actually was fairly testing, but that was quite a while ago. And in that fight, it looked like he was looking for the knockout a little bit too much. There was a lot of clinching, a lot of holding, and some people believe Billam-Smith won the fight because he was having a lot of success to the body. But Riakporhe hit Billam-Smith with a lot of nice shots as well. I think it just kind of comes down to what style you prefer. The comments on the highlights are very split. Maybe a draw would have been the fair result, but split decision. Can't argue too much that it goes against you. Billam-Smith, he looked a bit leaner. He looked a little bit faster. It seems that Billam-Smith has grown into the weight a bit more. He looks a bit bigger now. Looks like he hits a bit harder, which I guess will help him. Billam-Smith has never really struggled to go 12 rounds. Obviously, he looked pretty tired against Okoli, but he did go 12 rounds. And he was ill the week before as well. You have to keep in mind. So I think it's a good thing that Billam-Smith's coming in bigger. He's grown into the weight. He'll be stronger. And he doesn't appear to be struggling with endurance, which can happen when you put on weight. So all in all, it should be a very exciting fight. And one thing that is good is it appears the fight has come at the right time. You know, I'm sure his boxing fans were all, you know, frustrated to see when fights, everyone's talking about them, but they never get made. You know, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, everyone wanted to see it. It happened too late. You know, Wilder lost a few. Never happened, right? So it's good that I think this fight is happening at the right time. As I said, the first fight was very close. They've both gone their separate ways. Billam-Smith probably has a slightly better resume since, but Riakporhe is in amazing form. And Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver on TalkSport both back Riakporhe to knock Billam-Smith out. Personally, I mean, I am very biased because I am a Billam-Smith fan, so maybe probably don't listen to what I say because I am biased, but I do think Billam-Smith's going to win. I think his experience will be too much. I think that world title means too much to him. You know, he won't want to let that go at all. You know, it's only his second defence. You know, this is the one little niggle in his head when he goes to sleep at night. Oh, Riakporhe beat me on a split decision. You know, Billam-Smith's going to be hungry. He's going to want that fight with Opetaya or Usyk. My only concern for Riakporhe as well might be that he seems very relaxed. Like, he's hanging out with Madonna. I mean, I guess everyone has to have downtime, but is that really what you need to be hanging out with Madonna before a super fight? Not ideal for a fighter, so... But I don't think Riakporhe's going to underestimate Billam-Smith because he came out after the first fight and said, oh, I did underestimate Billam-Smith. He was better than I thought he was. And I remember Okoli saying the same thing the first time he sparred Billam-Smith. He was like, oh, okay, I think this guy's about European level. But then he sparred him and was like, oh, wow, no, this guy can hit. So, as I said, I think it's going to be a very exciting fight. My prediction, I think Billam-Smith beats him on points. I can't see either fighter getting stopped. And obviously, I've got to back Billam-Smith. I think he'll be too experienced. I think he hits harder now. I don't think Riakporhe will be expecting that. He seems very relaxed. Maybe it's a good thing or not, you know, hanging out with Madonna. But I'm going to back Billam-Smith. What about you? Who do you think's going to win this fight? Leave me your thoughts in the comments down below. Obviously, on the undercard, Ben Whittaker's back. Dan Aziz is back. It should be a very exciting night happening next Saturday in Sellers Park. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It would mean a lot and help me grow. We're nearly at 200 subscribers. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.